Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, and this is episode 286. My name is Carol, my Ravelry name is Knits and Pearls, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, where we are going to be enjoying a beautiful sunny day today before the rain comes back tomorrow. It's actually supposed to get up to 27 degrees today, which is one of our hotter days we've had so far this year. As you can see, I am sitting downstairs in our spare bedroom. It's a wonderful seat because I'm looking out onto the garden, hoping to see maybe a hummingbird at the honeysuckle right outside the window. We shall see. It is just after 10 o'clock in the morning and I wanted to get this episode recorded as early as possible. I actually had to put it off a little bit because the sun was shining directly in where I'm sitting, but I'm thinking as time goes on it's going to creep a little bit further and further away. I think I should be okay now. If I come too far forward, you can see it kind of blows things out. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well, that you've had a good 3 weeks since we last spoke. I have had a fantastic 3 weeks. If you've been following for a while, you will know that my husband and I went to Paris and Amsterdam to celebrate my 60th birthday and our 40th anniversary this year. We got back on Saturday evening. So we've had a couple of days to settle in, try to get over the jet lag. I was awake very early this morning and yesterday morning. Still not quite, haven't still quite adjusted to the time change. Actually, I didn't sleep very well while we were gone either. So it's just sort of getting used to this terrible sleep pattern, but hopefully that's something that will adjust sooner rather than later. So I have a few things of knitting to show you, but this episode is going to be very heavy on the wool piggery. I think in the last few weeks, have made up for all of my restraint that I've shown in the first half of this year. But that's okay, it's all good. I have some beautiful things to show you. I also have some photos and a little bit of video from our trip, which I will also share with you towards the end of the episode. So before we get into all of that though, just a reminder, there are currently 2 make-alongs that are taking place in the Ravelry group. The year-long chatter thread, which is Smash the Stash, and then our second quarterly make-along, Accessorize It, is coming to an end on June 30th. So if you have not yet, make sure that you get your finished projects posts posted in the finished projects thread. And just a reminder again to include a reference to your cast on post from the chatter thread so that it's easier for me to verify that your project does qualify for prizes. And then on July 1st, we will begin the third of our 4 quarterly make-alongs with, what did I call it? Rock Your Socks. So the third quarter will feature footwear, and the types of projects that will be acceptable are socks, slippers, leg warmers, and then I was thinking about if there was anything else, and I decided that I was going to include Christmas stockings. And I don't mean little itty bitty ones, I mean, you know, a Christmas stocking that you would hang by your fireplace and fill with things. So if you're trying to get some Christmas decoration knitting done ahead of time, then that might give you the motivation to pull that project out. So it's all new cast-ons or new projects, only no whips for this quarter. And this make-along will follow the same basic format as the first 2. So you In the chatter thread, you will post a starting post with your yarn, a picture of your beginnings of your project. Maybe just your yarn and your needles side by side, or the project page and your yarn, or cast on with a few stitches. I keep saying cast on, but crochet and weaving count as well. Although I don't know that you would weave a sock or slippers, but hey, if you can and want to, go for it. And then once and you feel free to chatter as much as you like in that thread, and then once your project's finished, take a picture of it, post it in the finished projects thread with a link to your project page and a what do you call it, the starting post number from the chatter thread. And I've got something in my eyes. I'm going to be batting my eyelashes at you for a second here. And there will, like the previous two make-alongs, this quarterly make-alongs, there will be prizes for both the chatter thread and the finished projects thread. Speaking of which, I still have not heard from the two winners from the first quarterly make-along, Sweater Weather. So if you participated in that, I'll write at the bottom of the screen the episode number that you will want to go and check out to see if you are a winner. If I have not heard from these people by the time I do the prizes for the second quarterly make-along, which will be on the next regular episode, then I'm going to go ahead and draw new winners from the Sweater Weather threads. I know I get behind on podcasts, and so it's very possible that these people just haven't caught up, but I feel like 3 months after the prize winners were announced is plenty of time to give people an opportunity to claim them. So that is that. Okay, let's move to some finished projects. I have two. I have a knitting one and a weaving one. And I can feel it, probably my eyes watering here, hopefully not messing up my mascara. First finished project is what I'm calling my neon rainbow socks, and I can see by holding them back here that they don't look very neon at all. I'm hoping when I bring them closer to the camera that the sun will not blow them out too much. This is yarn from Lang. It's a Super Socks color 4-ply in the Chemical Elements series. And this is color 901-0345, which is neon. And I think I originally saw this yarn, pretty sure it was on the Crazy Sock Lady podcast, and loved it. And when I was ordering something sometime later, I spotted it. Oh, there is a hummingbird right outside my window. That makes me so happy. It's only the second time that I have seen one this year. And it is at the Maltese Cross, which is this beautiful red flowering perennial that I have. Oh, that just made my day. And I will try not to keep staring at it, but look at the camera instead. But yes, that makes me very happy. If I thought I could turn around and film it in time for you to see it, I would, but I don't think I'll be able to. Anyway, this is my usual 64 stitch top down plain vanilla sock. I used some leftover, oh, I know what I did. I used some black yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners. It's their licorice colorway of the signature 4-ply yarn. And I used that for some traditional traditional slip stitch heel. So I did a traditional heel flap and gusset on these socks. So let me bring them in closer, and hopefully, the sun's gonna blow them out a bit, but that is a much more true color representation. They are quite bright and very beautiful. I had debated making socks for my brother-in-law from this yarn because he's one of probably the only man in my life that I knit socks for that would be willing to wear something like this, but I was greedy. I told you, a lot of wool piggery in this episode, and I made them for myself. That hummingbird is still there. Oh, I'm so happy about that. I planted the gardens by the deck specifically to attract hummingbirds, butterflies, and bees, and I'm always so happy when it does. So that's project number 1. You should see I am absolutely surrounded here. Project number 2, as I mentioned, is a weaving project. I finished my Paris scarf. And again, I don't know how the color is going to work out. As I mentioned last episode, I wove this scarf out of 2 different yarns in the same colorway. One was from Handmaiden. It is the Sea Silk yarn. And then the other was from Fleece Artist in the Simoko yarn, which is a blend of, I think, wool, mohair, and nylon, I think, or maybe silk. I'll put it at the bottom. And then the Sea Silk is sea cell and silk, I think. So I used the Sea Silk for the warp, which is what you thread onto the loom, and then I used the Simoko for the weft, which is what you weave back and forth with. And I just thought it would be fun to see how this 2 different yarns in the same colorway would weave up together. And again, I'm going to be challenged for lighting. I'm sorry. I am not 100% happy with how this turned out. One thing is because the warp yarn is quite a slippery yarn, it didn't, after washing, it didn't felt up together with the weft the way it often happens. And so there's still a fair bit of openness to the weave, which is fine. It's nice and drapey. I just wasn't super happy with my edges. You can see some big loops there, and you know, that's always a work in progress anyway as you weave, and I'm quite a new weaver, so but you know, it's not so bad, and especially since it's been washed and blocked, and when you wear it, it's not like people are staring at the edges. I'm really happy with the fringes. I decided to braid them. So, oh boy. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those episodes where I'm gonna be unhappy with everything. Let me see if I bring it up there. Okay, the color's blown out, but I think you can see all the braiding. So I finished this before we went to Paris, but I didn't think it would be suitable for wearing while we were there, and so I left it at home. As I explained last episode, I had originally bought, oh, the hummingbird's back, yay. I had originally purchased this yarn, or actually I had originally purchased the Sea Silk, 2 skeins of it to make a clapotis to work on when I was in Paris the last time, which was in 2007. But I began the clapotis, didn't like how it was knitting up in that yarn, and it sat idle for a while before I used one skein for a different project. And I popped a picture of that in last episode because I had forgotten to bring it into the craft room when I was recording. I'm just going to see if I had written down the name of this project. No, I did not write it in my show notes last week. Anyway, I thought I would bring it in and show you. So that's how the yarn, the Sea Silk, knit up. Very beautiful, brilliant colors. And I did take this scarf with me to on our holidays, and I did wear it in Paris. Both at a cafe I know I've got a picture of me at a cafe wearing it, and then I did wear it to the Eiffel Tower. Thankfully we had fairly warm weather most of the time we were there, so I didn't get a lot of use, but it was kind of cool to be able to take it with me on my trip and actually wear it in Paris. So yeah, I just thought I would bring that and show you, although again, with the lighting, not the best. And as you can see, it's really wrinkled. It needs a wash and a block. I just haven't got around to that yet. Oh, I just thought I'd mention, I was really thrilled to get to wear another knitted item while I was in Paris. Well, one day I did wear, forget the name of it, gonna put it on the screen with a picture. I wore this one day in Paris. So that was some knitwear I wore. But I also took this shawl called, ironically, it's London Shadow, so it has nothing to do with Paris. But I wore this to the Moulin Rouge. We had gone to see the show, and I had a fancy dress, and I needed a wrap of some sort. The only other like wrapper jacket I took was my denim jacket, and then like a light hoodie and sweater. It just didn't go with my dress. But I went through my knitwear and I found this shawl, and it's all beaded. Hopefully the sun is catching the glimmer of those beads in there. Not sure. Anyway, it was fun to be able to have an opportunity to wear that. And hummingbird's back yet again. I'm not sure if it's actually flown away or just flown out of sight, but it is busy out there. Oh, there's the phone, so I should probably go answer that, and I'll be right back with works in progress. So the good thing about being interrupted by the phone call is that the hummingbird was still there when I came back to the room, and I was able to get a very brief shot of it for you before it caught sight of me and flew away. But hopefully it'll be back while I'm recording. So works in progress, I only have 2. I took 3 projects with me on our trip. The neon rainbow socks, which I finished everything but the Kitchener stitch on the plane on the way home. And then I cast on the yarn from, where did I put the label? I thought I had it here, yeah. I cast on this yarn. This is the second shipment from the second Lepidoptera Yarn and Fiber Club from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. This is the Peacock Butterfly colorway. And I was really hoping that since we were going to be in Europe that we would see a peacock butterfly. Unfortunately, that did not happen. One day I saw a butterfly with dark underwings, which is what the peacock butterfly has, but it was so fleeting, and there's no way I can say for sure that's what it was. But I took this in the hope that I would see one. This is the Mountain Tweed BFL colorway. So this is the main skein, and then it came with 2 minis. This is the underside dark brown and dark purple. Again, sorry, not great lighting. So I did work on these while we were away, and also since I've been home. So I do have 1 sock. Here, I just don't want to lose my label here. I have 1 sock ready for the heel. I used the dark brown color for the cuff, 2x2 rib cuff. Again, 64 stitch top down sock. And then I'm going to use the purple for the heel. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do coordinating cuffs or just knit not cuffs, toes. I'm not sure if I'm just going to finish out the toes with the regular yarn. I'll make that decision when I get there. But this is such a fun colorway. Let's see if I can, if I bring it too close, it blows it out. But it's lots of bright colors, as you can see, red and yellow and pink and this bright blue, and then a couple of neutrals with that sort of beigey taupey brown and a natural. And with the Mountain Tweed BFL base, you get speckles to boot. So this has been really fun to make too. I knit up. So I've got one sock ready for the heel, and then this one I have to do another colorway repeat on it, and then that one will be also ready for the heel. And before I started these socks, I wound the yarn and did 2 squares for my blanket of cheer. And I took this project with me also. I had done up several squares that needed borders, and so on the train from Paris to Amsterdam, I worked on borders. So both of these blankets, or blanket squares, I incorporated the peacock butterfly colorway, but because of the yarns that I put them with for the semi-solid squares, and just because of the place in the sequence of the stripes, they look very different. But that's one of the really fun things about using these self-striping yarns, is that you know, you can have the same colorway and have it look completely different in a different square. So I should mention, in case you are new, first of all, welcome. Thanks for joining me today and checking out my channel. Second of all, this is a long-term project that is a mitered square blanket, as you can see, using all yarns from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. And so all of the semi-solid squares are being knit with the Bounce base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon. And then I'm using leftovers of Bounce Mountain Tweed BFL, which, as you can see, has the tweedy bits, and Bedazzled, which is the Stellina sparkly base. And then I am binding them all in this plain vanilla Bounce. And so I forget how many squares I have done now. So I finished these on the train, and then I also finished this one on the train. Isn't that one fun? Nice and bright. And then what I did before I left, I laid out all of my mitered squares, all of my minis that still need to be knit into mitered squares, all of the colorways that I had, whether they were still in skeins or whether they were leftovers. And I had done a lot of mixing and matching along the way as it was, but what I was able to do is really assess how many squares I was going to be able to get and which yarns I could match up with which semi-solid squares. And as it turns out, with some yarn I've received and with some yarn that I've ordered, I will have enough for 63 squares. So that'll be a 9x7 size. And so I kind of sorted things out, and now I have like Ziploc bags full of different categories. In some cases, it's okay, I've used this color already, so then I've matched it up with the remaining set of yellow squares with the yarn I'm going to knit up. Or in some cases, it's okay, I've done the stripy one out of this yarn, I'm going to match it up with its coordinating semi-solid, and I'm going to kind of work systematically through those bags. Some of them have, as I mentioned, some of the yarns I haven't even yet wound up into skeins and used them for socks, but when I do, I will take, knit up those squares once I wind them up, and then have them ready to go for socks after that. So yeah, still enjoying this project very, very much. Brings me a lot of joy or cheer, which is why I named it Blanket of Cheer. And then since then, I have completed this one. And then last night I was working on the border. I just need to bind that off. And then I have this one, which needs the ends woven in and needs the border put on. So that's all the ones I have in progress. So I'm really pleased because I have put borders on all of them now, except for the ones as I'm completing them. So I'm keeping up with that. I'll kind of work one or two of the squares and then I'll put borders on them. So it's coming along very nicely and I do enjoy the process so much. This yarn is, I think, the Winter Comforts colorway, and it has a beautiful gold stripe in it, which I wasn't able to incorporate, but then that's okay. This is, you know, it's just a bunch of, you know, it's some shades, cooler shades, and that's the fun thing, is you can have like totally different, and once they're all put together, it won't matter if they're, you know, bright or more subdued. They all kind of just go together. Oh yeah, and I just, it would have meant wasting too much yarn to incorporate the gold in this one, so I didn't want to do that. But yeah, it's so fun, so fun. All right, that's it for works in progress. So what I didn't mention is these neon rainbow socks. This was my May personal sock yarn. No, not May, June. My June personal sock yarn club socks. I thought it would be fun with July coming up to open my July personal sock yarn club yarn. So again, if you're new, at the beginning of the year, I put aside 12 skeins of sock yarn and put a month on a bag, and every month I open up the yarn, and sometimes I remember what's in the bag and most times I don't. So it's like getting a brand new skein of yarn every month, and it takes away the decision making about which pair I'm going to cast on next. I was thinking about what might be in here, and I think maybe the wildflower skein from Gauge Dye Works. I don't know for sure, but I sort of have a feeling it is. I know a couple of different years in July we've gone up to Sun Peaks, which is a ski resort town in the interior of British Columbia. They do have some summer activities also, including a golf course. And then you can take the chairlift up to the alpine or subalpine meadows, and it's full of flowers. So I've done that a couple of times in the past and shared some footage with you. So I think I may have put the wildflower colorway in here to kind of as a nod to that July activity that we've done sometimes. So with as little crinkling as possible, I will open this up and see if I'm right. Okay, not looking. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yay! So this Gauge Dye Works, as I mentioned, beautiful purple, pink, green, blue. And this, once again, is the classic yarn. It is, I think it's an 80-20. Yeah, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And again, this is it's the Wildflower Fade, the round trip dye technique. And so I think it was my May socks that I did the weekend road trip, and it faded from red into turquoise. This is going to do a similar thing, and so that's going to be fun. I don't remember which colors it fades you know, to and from, if there's green on one end or if the green's in the middle or the blue or the purple, don't know. I'll figure that out when I wind it. But once again, I'll wind it into one skein, and then I'll knit one sock from one end of the skein, and I will knit the other sock from the middle, like when it's in a cake. Knit one sock from the outside of the cake, one sock from the inside of the cake, and then they'll match. But, oh, I'm so happy. That's such a beautiful, beautiful colorway. So I have that coming up. Also, I purchased this self-striping sock set from Polka Dot Creek, and this is their Canada Day 2023 self-striping colorway, which is Bonspiel, and then I got a mini skein of charcoal. And so I'm not going to wait till Canada Day, but we are going on a road trip this coming weekend, which is Canada Day weekend, and I'm going to cast these on to work on in the car. I'll tell you more about that trip later, which has taken some unexpected turns, and that's not, no pun intended, but it's just sometimes plans don't turn out how you plan them. But I will be casting these on, and I meant to bring down, I have a Canada Day, a couple of Canada Day themed project bags that I made for myself, so I'm going to be putting that in there. And then I will also most likely take this with me too, and maybe cast these on July 1st, which is Canada Day, and work on them on the way home. Maybe I'll work on these on the way there, these on the way home. We'll see, but definitely throughout July I'll be working on these socks. And that is sort of an introduction into acquisitions. And as I mentioned beforehand, there are many. So when I ordered that yarn from Polka Dot Creek, I also ordered this year's Canada Day colorway, not the self-striping one. This is called Canada Day, D''EA. So I know, don't know if you can read that. I know everyone thinks Canadians say a lot. I'm not sure that we all do. Sometimes you don't realize what you say until someone else points it out to you. Just like nobody thinks they have an accent until somebody points it out. In any case, this is, as you can see, like a variegated colorway. Comes with two minis. I don't know if they label them here. Yeah, gray and cherry. And I just thought I would show you, last year, I guess it was, I purchased this Canada Day fade set with the idea of doing a sweater. These are colorways from past Canada Days. There's Maple Leaf, Double Double, Bonspiel, and Weathered Barn. And this colorway also blends in very nicely with it. So I might make a point of incorporating at least some of this into this sweater, but this will mainly be for a pair of socks. Unless I pick one of these other ones out. I was thinking I might take that one out and use it for socks and put this one into the fade. Not sure, but I just thought I would point that out, that I now have a fifth colorway to use with this fade. They're really fun. They do both self-striping and variegated colorways for each Canada Day. Polka Dot Creek is actually out of Airdrie, Alberta, which is the province next to ours in British Columbia. Okay, so let me just take a sip of my most likely cold tea. Lukewarm, not so bad. It kind of gets the sunshine on the windowsill where I have my cup is probably helping to keep it a little bit warmer than normal. Last episode, I think it was, I mentioned that I had won a prize from the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Project Pool Make Along, and that came in the mail. I should open this up. So Sorry, crinkling again. It's like chewing. The harder you try and be quiet, the louder your chewing sounds. You ever notice that? You're trying not to disturb someone. Anyway, this is an Inversible set. This is the worsted weight base, which is cozy. It's 100% superwash merino, and this is the Merlot and bronze colorway. I was thinking it might do a hat with this. I did a hat a while ago from another Fiber Knit Dye Works yarn, and the brim goes, you knit the brim sideways, goes around, and then you pick up and knit that way. I might do that with one, using one of the skeins for the brim, one for the crown. That's sort of what I'm thinking, but plans could change. They often do. And Lisa, when she sent this, so generously sent me some fiber to spin. I've recently taken up spinning, and she so kindly sent this mixed BFL spinning set. There's 7 ounces in here, and this is her A Legacy colorway, which is an ode to her grandmother. She has an Afghan that her grandmother made that you often see during her podcast episodes. I've always admired it, and I thought it was so cool when she came out with a colorway based on the Afghan. And so you see it's got green and blue and gray and some purple in there. I don't want to take it out of the bag. I'm going to wait till I'm a little more experienced spinner to spin this, because I really want to do a good job with it. And I also have ordered a skein of sock yarn in this colorway, which isn't here yet. Won't be for a while. She's on vacation too, and so be a little bit. And then while I was gone, I received the 3rd and final shipment from the 2nd Lepidoptera Yarn and Fiber Club. This month it was based on the Orange Sulphur Butterway Butterfly. And I don't know if we get those here. I know they are in North America, but I've never seen one like this. That's what the underwings look like. And look at this pretty yarn. So it came with, this is the Orange Sulphur colorway. It's a 5-stripe colorway. Blowing out a bit. It's got, looks like orange, light green, like a light neon kind of green, yellow, kind of a pinky beige, and an apricot, it looks like. It's hard to tell till it's all wound up. And then these 2 colors, the bright orange and the soft brown, represent some of its eye spots. Is that what you call them? Eye spots? Doesn't sound right. Yeah, eye spots. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be including 1 square of this in my blanket of cheer. I just need to find a mini. I'm always using the bounce minis. This is the Bedazzled base. Don't know if you can see. Maybe if I bring it closer, you'll catch some sparkle, or more likely you're just going to have a blowout on you. Yeah. Anyway, I won't use the minis for the semi-solid squares, but I will find something to pair this with, because that is just way too bright and cheerful and fun not to include in my blanket. And then I'll have 1 last square available for the A Legacy colorway. And then I'll have all the yarns I need for my blanket of cheer. There's the phone again. I will be right back once again. So those are all the acquisitions that came in the mail since the last episode. But then while we were on our trip, I visited 3 different yarn shops. And of course I had to get some souvenir yarn. That was the whole point. So first up, we in Paris went to a shop called Lil Weasel. and it was in a beautiful area of Paris. It was in this mall. You go down this long corridor with this beautiful ceiling. It was like almost like an alleyway, a covered alleyway. And they have a shop. Part of the shop is on one side of this alleyway, part of it is on the other. And this is, I think, the only place in Paris that you can buy La Bien Aimée yarn, other than La Bien Aimée, which is no longer a shop, but sometimes has a pop-up shop. You can order from them online, but I wanted to be able to see it in person and bring home some yarn. So I picked some up, not only for myself, but for my daughter and daughter-in-law, who are the other knitters in this family, and they were looking after the mail and the plants while we are away. So I picked them up, each a skein of La Bien Aimée yarn also, and a little Eiffel Tower stitch marker from that shop, and then a couple other things. So, pardon me, I wanted my own skein of Le Bien Aimée, and this is the one I chose. It is the Cashmerino base, so it is 75% superwash merino, 15% cashmere, 10% nylon, and this is the Tuileries colorway. And we spent some time in the Tuileries, which are the now public gardens. They used to be the royal gardens next to the palace, which is now the Louvre Museum. So we did spend some time in there, had lunch there a couple of days, and so I wanted, a colorway that was meaningful. So I got that, and it's beautiful, soft lavender, some gold, some green speckles. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make from that, but it's beautiful. And then I also, Lil Weasel have their own line of yarn. So I picked up this skein, which is Rive Gauche, which is the left bank. They had Rive Droite and Rive Gauche with my, saying that with my terrible French accent. Right bank and left bank. Similar colors, just how they're distributed were different. But I decided on this one because I liked the colors better. And then I picked up a mini skein to go with it. Unfortunately, when I was prepping my show notes for this episode, I realized like the mini is superwash merino and nylon. This is just superwash merino, so not as suitable for socks, which is what my intention was. But I might throw caution to the wind and do socks out of this anyway, because it's usually my heels and toes that wear out, so I can use that with the nylon for those areas, and hopefully the other part will be okay. Plus I have so many socks, it takes a long time to wear them out anyway. Anyway, I thought those went well together, so I did that. And then I bought myself also a Eiffel Tower stitch marker, but mine is different than the one that I got for the girls. Let's see. There, I think that's not blown out quite as, covering my face, sorry. I think you can see that there. Looks like the Eiffel Tower with some cherry blossoms or something. So that was my yarny souvenirs from Paris. And then in Amsterdam, of course, I had to go to Stephen and Penelope. And what an awesome shop that is. I got this bag from there, Stephen and Penelope. And when I buy souvenirs, I for the most part, want them to be something I can't get somewhere else, or something representative of the place I'm visiting, or maybe some locally hand-dyed yarn. So in this case, I got those types of things. So I did pick up a project bag, and this is their shop right here. the architecture in Amsterdam is so cool. So I got that. And then this seemed like a really fitting kind of souvenir. So this is a collaboration with Stephen and Penelope, and then a local or a Dutch design. One sec, be right back. I know I could just let that ring and let the answering machine pick it up, but I hate not knowing who's calling, and there's some things going on behind the scenes, and I thought it might be important. Anyway, it wasn't. Yeah, so as I was saying, this is a collaboration between a dyer from the Netherlands and Stephen and Penelope, and it is only available in the shop. And so I thought it would make a great souvenir. So what this is a set of yarns, four full skeins, I should say, of fingering weight yarn. And this is called Mill Region Veendam, hand-dyed in the Netherlands. And this is the Delfts blue colorways. They also had one that was called Flowers, that was all shades of rose. And it sounds like they, I think, had two other colorways at one point. But I chose the blue because I thought it was very representative of the Delft blue china that you see there. And so with the kit, you got 4 skeins of the yarn, which is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon blend. It is hand-dyed by Saskia in Veendam, which is a small town in the north of the Netherlands. And then you also received this tulip needle gauge, and then also a download code for one of a selection of Stephen West shawls. So I chose the woolly waffle shawl. And whether or not I use this yarn to make that shawl, I'm not sure, but I will download that pattern. So I thought that was just like the perfect, you know, Netherlands souvenir yarn from that shop. And I loved the idea that it's not something I could order online. The only place to get it is in their store. And it came in this awesome box, as you can see. It has the buildings, and so that's just a great keepsake too, and it stores nicely. And then it wasn't all I bought. I did pick up this Stephen and Penelope needle gauge. So you just slide your needle up. Isn't that a cool idea? I picked up one of these for the girls also. And then I got a couple other things there. I bought this gorgeous gradient yarn. This is 500 meters of 100% merino wool. The brand is Bilum yarn, and this is the Loli yarn, Loli, and this is color number 10. It says BEA. BEA. Don't know. I haven't looked on Ravelry to see if that's short for, you know, beauty or, you know, some other colorway, but I just thought that was totally my colors. So this will most likely become a cowl or a small shawl. Pardon me. And then this yarn is Essence of Autumn hand-dyed yarn. I'm not sure where they're from. I just loved this colorway. It was so beautiful. And this is the Pasture sock, which is an 80% superwash BFL, a 20% nylon blend. And this is the color Autumn's Essence. So Autumn Essence of Autumn yarn in the Autumn's Essence colorway. So that was my souvenir yarn and bag, etc. from Stephen and Penelope. And they were super in there. Very, very, staff was so pleasant to chat to and helpful, and just the yarns in there were incredible. I mean, I could have spent all day and bought out the whole store. It was just a super place to visit. And then Linda from For the Fun of Knit podcast had also told me that there was another shop, a yarn shop within walking distance. And so of course I had to check that out too. So it was called D Off Stop. And there were a couple of women working there, one who spoke very good English, and we chatted for quite a while. I bought some other things for, or something else that will be a future gift for my daughter-in-law, which I'm not showing you, but I did get this mini skein set, again from a local dyer. This is called Wol Met Verve by Silvia, and the woman told me that means like it's verve, similar to how it would be in English. It means like enthusiasm. So she said this is like yarn with enthusiasm. I think that's what she said. I don't think it's dyed with enthusiasm. I think wool is wool. Anyway, what pretty colors. And then I was watching the Crazy Sock Lady podcast, and she recently did some scrappy socks. She also had like 4 colors that were variegated and then a solid. And she alternated with some stripes of the plain between stripes of the variegated, and then use this for the heel, and it looked really nice. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is scrappy socks with that method. I'll have to check them out, and you know, I may not do them exactly the same as her, but it really looked nice to have some of the stripes. I think she did like you know, striped the 4 of them and then did a narrow stripe of the plain, and she might have done the cuff out of the plain heel. Maybe it was cuff and heels. Anyway, it looked really nice. So I'm thinking about doing something like that with those yarns. Gorgeous, bright colors. They all were really bright. And that is the end of my haul. Yeah, it's a lot at once, but then like I said, I have hardly bought a thing this year. It just seemed like I bought everything at once. All right, that brings us to what's going on in my life. So before we left for holidays, Cameron had his mid-season ball tournament, and I think I've mentioned before, this year there are a lot of new players, just a few returning players. Mostly it's all new players, and a lot of them have not played ball before, or it's been a long time since they have. But what a cool weekend. They won all 5 of their games, and so they won their division. Now, a caveat, the team has only won 2 games this year. Their first game, and then this last game, one of which we were, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago, we were away for it, and are currently in completely last place in the league, but they just had a super weekend, and so they won the D division for that mid-season tournament, and it was just so fun. A lot of the new players are younger, either, you know, our kids' age or younger than that even. There's a few of them in their 20s, and they have such positive attitudes and enthusiasm, and how cool to see all of that rewarded. So it was a super weekend for that. And then the following, that was on the Saturday and Sunday, and then the following weekend, or the following Wednesday, we left for our trip. And I think, as I mentioned before, sorry, just getting comfy here, we were traveling at the same time as our younger son and his girlfriend. So we drove Colin and Bronwyn to the airport. They were flying in and out of Amsterdam and had layovers both directions in Montreal. So in both cases of flying there and flying home, they left before us but arrived after us. So we dropped them off at the airport, and our plan was to go and have some breakfast and then take our car over to the park and fly, and then go check in and just have a leisurely entry into our trip. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. We dropped them off at the airport. Cameron gets out of the car to, get their luggage. And I guess just in reflex, he put his hand on his back pocket and his wallet was not there. He got back in the car. He didn't say anything to them. He got back in the car and he said, "I don't have my wallet. I left it at home." And what had happened, I think, is normally that's part of his routine of getting dressed, but when we got up, he put sweatpants on, and he didn't change into his jeans until shortly before we left home. And I think that's what happened. He was out of his usual routine of getting dressed and putting his wallet in, out the door to go to work or whatever. He always does that. So I'm like, okay, well, hang on a second. Like, we can't go all the way. We're going to miss our flight if we go all the way back home and back. It's already a good hour and a half to 2 hours to the airport from our house. Plus, that morning there had been an accident on one of the routes, which had backed up the route that we normally would have taken to the airport. So we'd already taken a different route, which was also busy. And so I was like, okay, hang on, maybe someone can meet us part way. And so put the help out on my family group on Messenger, and my brother-in-law was going to be heading in that direction anyway to go visit his mom. And so he went to our house to get the wallet. And we're driving as fast as we can back towards home, and we pulled off at this one stop, and I needed to use the washroom, and we grabbed a bottle of water, and Cameron pulled out his phone and went to pay for it with his Visa, and it sort of made me think, and I said, I'm looking at the time, we still hadn't heard back from Joe to see where he was. Time is a ticking. We're getting further and further away from the airport, closer and closer to home. And I said, let's think about this for a minute. Like, you've got a credit card on your phone. You've got your passport for ID. Like, what else do you need from your wallet? Part of it was euros. I'd gotten some euros out of the bank, and he had a good chunk of them in his wallet. And it's like, well, we can take more euros out if we need to. And I said, I've got my credit cards. I've got some euros. We've got, I think the only thing that maybe you don't have is like your cards, your medical cards, but we could get Joe to photocopy them and send those to you, and your driver's license, and you would at least have it on your phone. Because I said, we're just not going to make it. If we end up meeting him and turning around, we're going to miss our flight. And so just after that, we were in touch with him and realized, there's just no way where he was. He'd had a delay getting to our house as it was because there was construction. And I said, how bad that traffic is. When we came back, we passed, like we came back the regular route we would have taken and saw all the traffic still backed up there. It's like, we need to get there. So we turned around and headed back to the airport, and we got through security about 20 minutes before boarding, and then we grabbed something to eat because we were starving. We hadn't eaten breakfast. Grabbed some sandwiches, got to our gate about 10 minutes before boarding, and ate those before we got on the plane. And so kind of a crazy beginning and stressful beginning, but it turned out fine. There were a couple of times when I needed to produce the actual card because the amount was over the limit where you can just tap on the credit card. But other than that, we've found a bank close by, got some more euros, didn't need any other ID than the passport. So it all worked out fine, thankfully. But it was a stressful way to start the trip. Everything was uphill from there, though. It was about a 9-hour flight, so that's long, but it actually wasn't too bad. Our hotel was fine. It wasn't too far from the Arc de Triomphe, and we walked a ton. We walked everywhere, and just enjoyed. It was the perfect kind of holiday that we had been planning, and it all turned out that way. There were a few attractions that we wanted to see, the Eiffel Tower being one of them. We wanted to go to the top because we hadn't done that before. But we didn't feel like we needed to go to the Louvre again or some of the other museums or things like that. And so we did a ton of walking, went to the yarn shops, of course, had lunch a couple days, as I mentioned, in the Tuileries gardens. Because Paris is going to be hosting the Olympics in about a month's time, there was construction going on in different places and grandstands being set up. It seemed very strange in the Place de la Concorde. This juxtaposition of statues and fountains and these grandstands. Just such a contrast between old and new. And there was one of the bridges too that had grandstands all along it. Apparently for the opening ceremonies, rather than have the athletes parade into a stadium, which is usually what happens, they are going to be on boats and going up the Seine River. So I can't wait to see opening ceremonies and see what that all looks like. The Eiffel Tower had the Olympic rings on it. Just lots going on. But we just enjoyed a good balance of downtime, got some knitting done, some reading, sitting at a cafe, having a glass of wine or a meal, and like I said, lots and lots and lots of walking. We went to see Notre Dame. We had been fortunate enough to go in it last time we were back in Paris in 2007 and had stayed several days. We packed a lot into those 7 days, including going in Notre Dame. So we wanted to go back there and just see how it looked. I don't know that you can go in it. We didn't intend to anyway, but you can see the cranes and the work that's being done on it. We had just driven past the Bastille Monument the last time, so we walked to it from Notre Dame so we could look at it a little longer. Just had a fantastic time there. And then we took the train up to Amsterdam, which was awesome, super comfortable, very nice big seats, way roomier than the airplane, and just a very pleasant trip. It rained that day. We had to walk about 10 minutes from our hotel to the metro station to get the metro to the train station. That was the only real rain we had in Paris. We had a little bit of misty rain. I think it was the day before, no, I guess a couple of days before that, but it didn't last. And then in Amsterdam, we had a couple of days on our own before Colin and Bronwyn arrived. And so I guess the first day we went for breakfast and then went to the yarn shops and again found a cafe and sat there, had a little snack, and just was right by one of the canals, watched the boats going up and down, and we walked all over the place. Oh, I see my hummingbird friend is back, and it's now at one of our flower baskets, so that's awesome. Not just at the garden, but also the baskets. Such a treat to see it because, well, one, we haven't really been home very much in the last 2 weeks, and before that we had only seen it once. And then when they arrived the next day, we walked over to this, I can't remember if it's the oldest or biggest or both windmill. It no longer operates as a windmill, but it's there's a brewery that's right beside it. And so we walked over there, and they sampled the beers. I had some wine. I'm not a beer drinker. And then that evening we did a canal cruise. So that was fun. We ended up sitting next to a family from South Carolina, I think it was, as well as some other people around us that we chatted to. So it was just a neat way to see the city. And then the next day we had planned to watch the football or soccer, as we call it. I can't remember what tournament's on right now. Colin and Bronwyn had planned to spend some time in Germany and then changed their mind because of this event. Made everything expensive and hard to book and everything. But Bronwyn wanted to see the Netherlands-France game. I guess they had met up for in the past for like head-to-head competition for, I think, the final. So she's a soccer fan, so she wanted to see that game. So we were thinking she was thinking it was at 3 o'clock. So we scoped out a pub to sit at for 3 o'clock just before the rain opened up and poured down. So we were undercover. That was perfect. That was the only other time we had like real rain. But then it turned out she had her time wrong. It wasn't till 9 o'clock that night. But we sat there for a while and watched the game that was on, and then we walked over to the Van Gogh Museum. We had booked that well in advance, a couple months beforehand, and thoroughly enjoyed looking at that exhibit. We took the tram back to the hotel. We were staying right next to the central train station. They were right across the water. They had a Airbnb on a houseboat, and there was a free ferry that went back and forth between the train station and close to where they were staying. Goes back every, like, I think in the day it's every 5 minutes, and it's about a 5-minute trip. And I think in the evenings it goes every 10 minutes. But it was perfect, super easy. You just walk on with all the cyclists and the pedestrians, cross that little stretch of water, walked to their place. It was ideal. We were located in a really good spot. So once we got back towards the hotel, we dropped some things off, and then went and found a place to have dinner, and then came back to our hotel, which had a bar, and we sat there and watched the first half of the soccer game. And then we were all pretty tired, and we needed to fly out the next day, and so we didn't linger past that. And as it turned out, there was no score in the soccer game. It ended in a 0-0 tie, so it wasn't exactly exciting to watch anyway. Both of us got delayed close to an hour on our flights leaving Amsterdam, but not too bad. And once we got home, we went through security, got our bags, picked up our car, and then went and had dinner. And then just sat in our car, read for a little while. Cameron had a little snooze and waited for their phone call to say that they had landed. And so picked them up and dropped them off at their apartment. I think we got home at about 11 o'clock that night. So a very long travel day. But we lost a day flying there, but gained it coming back. So all in all, just a fabulous, fabulous holiday. Everything we had wanted it to be. But I will say it is good to be home. We will not be here for very long though, because we are leaving again on Friday. So unfortunately, Cameron's one of his aunts passed away at the end of March, and she didn't want any sort of service, but there is a celebration of life of sorts planned for this coming Saturday in Calgary, Alberta, which is the province next to us. This is the aunt who passed away was Cameron's mom's youngest sister, and the next younger sister lives in Calgary, as does her daughter and husband. So their daughters were going to be there this coming weekend, or are going to be there this coming weekend, and then her brother and his wife were going to come from Saskatchewan, which is the province next door to that, which is where the aunt who passed away lived. They were coming for the weekend also. So the idea was to get together for a dinner, and they opened it up to whoever else in the family wanted to go. And so we decided that we would travel to Calgary for this. And then we decided that since we were going to be in Calgary, it's not too far from there, I think about 3.5 hour drive to Edmonton, which is where my aunt lived. And I say lived because unfortunately we thought we would go and see her. And on May long weekend, my mom was trying to get hold of her and couldn't, and we learned that she'd been in the hospital for a few days. So she came home, and it sort of was even more of an impetus for us to go see her. But unfortunately, she passed away just a few days before we left for our holidays. So we were not going to be able to see her. But we decided to go to Edmonton regardless and see some of my cousins who live there. Her service was last Wednesday, and my mom and 2 of my sisters did drive to Edmonton to attend that. So even though we weren't able to attend that because we were gone, just thought it was important to still go. So then another wrinkle that's since then been thrown into it all is that my mother-in-law's other sister, who lives in Calgary, has also since gone into hospital, and Cameron's been in touch with his cousin, and they thought there would be a procedure and that she would most likely be okay to attend this family dinner / celebration of life on Saturday, but there's been complications, and now it doesn't look like it's going to happen, that will be postponed. So I think what we will probably do is drive to Calgary anyway. We've booked hotels for the trip there and back, so I think we'll probably go to Calgary regardless, and at least it'll give us a chance to visit with some cousins and also Cameron's aunt, because like she's in her 90s. I think she's 94 or so something like that. Maybe 93. No, she's older than that. 96, I think. I think she turned 96 this year. Yes. And my aunt who passed away was 94. So, you know, you just don't know when you'll see them again. And so I also lost 2 cousins last year. You know, it's just been a lot of relatives from both sides of the family in a short space of time, and you got to see them while you can. So yeah, it's changed. The plans are changing, but I think that's what's going to happen. At least as I speak, that's kind of what we're looking at. So I don't know exactly when I'm going to record next, because we also, a couple weeks after that, I'm planning to go up with some of my sisters to my mom's place, and she's been wanting to do a garage sale for several years and literally clean out her garage. And so the plan is to do that the weekend. That's, I think, 2 weeks after Canada Day. I think it's the 12th or something. And so, yeah, I'm going to be coming and going. So I'm not exactly sure when the next episode will be, but I'll do it when I can. I'm hoping a couple weeks from now. Okay, that brings us to something good, because you can always find something good if you look for it, even when sometimes there are bad things happening. So I actually have 2, and they are both related to Father's Day. So Father's Day took place not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before here in Canada. And one good thing about Father's Day for me, my father passed away in 2015. And I think I had mentioned before that he had said the last time that we went to Paris, make sure you go to the very top of the Eiffel Tower. It's worth it. And we weren't able to. And so it was in my head that this time we were going to go to the very top of the Eiffel Tower, or at least do our best to get there. And I tried to purchase tickets before we left home. But unfortunately, because of the Olympics, they had changed their policy about how much in advance they made them available. And when it finally was available for the dates that we were going to be there, the only tickets left were to go to the top and have a glass of champagne, which added about, I think, 50 or 60 Canadian dollars each onto the cost of it. And we said, we'll take our chances. Don't like champagne that much. And so the first day we got there, that evening we walked down to the Eiffel Tower, but tickets were all sold out for that day. So we thought, we'll try the next day. So the next day was beautiful, sunny, like blue sky, but it was very windy, and the top was closed. So we weren't able to get tickets that day. So then we thought, okay, let's try tomorrow. And we've got 2 days left that we have an opportunity. Let's go tomorrow, get there for opening, and just hope that the weather is decent and that we can get tickets. So it was just misting a little bit of rain. We got there just before opening. Wasn't windy. The top was open. We got tickets, no problem. And it turned out to be Father's Day. So it just seemed very fitting that the whole reason I wanted to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower was just to sort of say, hey, Dad, we did it. And he was very much on my mind. And as we were up there, the weather was getting better and better. The rain had stopped and the sun was coming out. So it turned out to be actually very nice. And it was really interesting because the views that you had from the very top and then the next level down and the next level down were all different because of the height that you were at. So actually being up so high, the buildings had less dimension. And so, for instance, when we came down to a lower level, we could see Sacré-Cœur, one of the churches, like very easily, where from up high it was hard to pick it out because it wasn't standing up above the landscape in the same way. But it was just, yeah, it was so cool. I was so happy we got to do that, and it just seemed very fitting to do it on Father's Day. And so on Father's Day, for the last number of years, our sons have had kind of a ritual that they do with my husband. And they come over for like sort of late afternoon, early evening. They order pizza, they have beer, and they three of them watch movies. And since over the years that now that we have some women that have come into their lives, Stephanie, my daughter-in-law, always comes with Matt and stays upstairs with me, and we knit or we go outside or something depending on the weather. And then not this past year, but or was it last year or the year before? Anyway, Bronwyn, Colin's girlfriend, came, and the three of us girls sat together and did stuff. And so this year we were not home for Father's Day, and so we have a family messenger group, and I opened it up. I think it was when I got up in the morning, because it was sort of late Father's Day here. We were 9 hours ahead time-wise. Anyway, I opened this up, and Matt had put something like another successful Father's Day, and then he had posted two pictures. One was Stephanie in our living room knitting, and then you can see where the couch where I would sit, and there was like a picture of me on the couch. And so it was like she was knitting up there with me, and then there was a picture of our family room downstairs, and Matt had put a thing of beer, and he was holding had the beer beside him, holding the remote control, and beside him where Colin and Cameron would have sat were photos of them stuck to the couches. It was priceless. It was perfect. It was just, more meaningful than any Father's Day card could be, because so much forethought and thought went into it. A lot of creativity. Anyway, that really made our day. So despite being far from home and unable to spend Father's Day with the kids this year, that was really awesome. All right, I think this has gone on quite long enough. If you're stuck with me, thanks so much for watching. I will record again as soon as I can. I'm hoping in a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, if you have projects to finish up for Accessorize It, be sure to do that and get your projects posted in the FO thread. I will get the new thread open before I go away. But just ask you not to post in it until July 1st. And I hope to be back in a couple of weeks and announce prizes for the make-alongs. So take care until then. Happy Canada Day in advance to my Canadian friends, and happy Independence Day to my friends from the United States on July 4th. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye.